Shout out to best house church leader. Um, so I've been coming out to GFC for about 9 years now, and I've been Christian for about 8 of those years. And it's kind of crazy just to think how much God has really impacted my life. Basically my entire adult life I've spent here at GFC, and it's amazing to see how formative He's been into me becoming the person that I am today. Um, for those who may know me like a little more personally, right now I'm going through a lot of period of change, change in my school, change in my career, and now change here in terms of my role here at GFC. And with a lot of these feelings of change comes feelings of uncertainty about what the future holds, feelings of doubt about my capabilities, feelings of doubt about what God's plan is for me. And despite all of this, listening to Tim's sermon last week about trusting in God, as well as spending the time to prepare his testimony and just reflecting on what it means to be a house church leader, I feel like my trust in God has really been reignited despite everything that all the changes and uncertainty in my life. Um, I want to share a story. Back in 2018, we were a much smaller church, right? And we didn't have like these formal split up house churches like we did now. We had this thing called Sync, which is basically where all the college and the young adults would just meet every Saturday evening at Tim's house. And we would do similar things like, sharing dinner, the word, and praise. And I really liked coming out every Saturday. It's probably the highlight of my week. But there's one meeting in particular that I think has really been like seared into my memory. Um, this one Saturday, I think it was around 2018. It was a very small meeting, like small group that night. It was like Tim, I think Polina was there, John Shine, I think Elizabeth and maybe Simon might have been there. But I remember this meeting because the vibe of this meeting was actually really, really bleak and depressing. Um, given the context, at the time, some members of our congregation left, and a lot of the remaining members had life plans that could potentially lead them to having to move out of state, right? And so a lot of this Saturday house, the sync meeting kind of revolved on what the future of GFC will look like if, worst case scenario, the people who had plans to move had ended up moving, and like there's very few of us left, right? And for me, that was like traumatizing for me because I loved coming out every Saturday. Every Saturday, Tim's always cooking amazing food. We're sharing, and then play like Jackbox on his TV or something. And it was a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, this one Saturday, I'm like having to consider like, oh my gosh, like what if GFC isn't here next year? Like I just became a Christian. I just started coming out, and now you're telling me I have to like start church hopping? Like I don't even know how to do that. Do I find another like Korean church? Because I'm not even Korean, so where am I supposed to go? So despite all of that uncertainty, like thankfully, we're still here, and we're way better than where we were back in 2018. And throughout that entire period of growth, never once did I see anyone like Tim and his family or anyone else who was up in the leadership position ever lose faith, or lose trust in God. And to look at this congregation today and to see how much we've grown from that little room upstairs to now being in here, and now even today we barely have enough seats to fit everybody. So it's really amazing to kind of just see how trusting in God has really has given us fruits to bear for our congregation. So why did I become a house church leader? Honestly, I didn't want to. I've been coming here for 9 years, and I know I should be serving, and like I have been yearning to kind of serve in like a more official capacity. But for very selfish reasons, I was very picky on like where it is I would want to serve, right? And house church leader was always on like the very bottom of my priority list. And the reason for that is because I just felt very unqualified to be one. In my mind, a house church leader is someone who's very hardworking, very welcoming, very always has like positive energy, and they're very compassionate. Like people can share some pretty heavy stuff in a house church meeting, and I feel like as a good leader, you have to be there to be like compassionate, empathetic to what they're going through, and be able to listen. I am none of those things. Um, Even at my work, people would always tell me like, Max, you have like the worst RBF, and like people would be scared to approach me because they think I'm like always angry. And I know work and church is a very different place, but I feel like sometimes I do carry that vibe here. So like I was thinking like, oh, if like a VIP, a new person comes out and they say, oh yeah, that's Max, our house church, one of our house church shepherds. And they see me in the corner on my phone just looking like annoyed. They'll be like, who's this guy? You know? So I never really wanted to be a house church leader. Um, but what changed was a few weeks ago, there was a meeting with the shepherds. I wasn't at that meeting, but my leader, Michelle, was. And Michelle really advocated for me to kind of step up to be a leader. And when I heard that, I was confused. I was like, Michelle, I've been coming out to her house church for over a year. She knows the kind of person I am, the kind of personality I have, and she wants me to be a leader. But her reasonings for me being a leader was mostly regarding me being consistent. Like I do show up every Friday, and after hearing just how much she wanted me to step up, like that did a complete 180 in my mind and the way I perceive shepherding and being a shepherd. Uh, so I guess words of encouragement for those who are maybe looking to kind of serve in a capacity. You don't have to be good at what you do. You don't have to, you know, be the best to serve. Just got to be willing. And serving is really an opportunity for growth. So as being a shepherd, one of the things I'm most looking forward to is growing, not only just as a person, but also like in terms of my relationship with God. Um, I'm someone who gets very comfortable whenever I'm in wherever I'm at. I got very comfortable at my job, got very comfortable at school, very comfortable here, just being a member at GFC. And I feel like, especially this past year, with a lot of the change and the uncertainty that God has really put in my life, it's His way of like kicking me in the butt and telling me like, Max, stop being comfortable. Go out there and do what I put you on this earth to do. Um, so yeah, throughout this week, as I've been reflecting on becoming the leader, I am really looking forward to it. Learning to trust in God more and to yearn for growth. And I look forward to growing with all of you as your future shepherd. Thank you.